Welcome to another episode where we code games using Unity. Um, so last episode we did bug fixing, right? So we are going to continue from there. Um, and thank you guys for watching my videos. It really means everything. Um, I would like it if you guys commented more and let me know in the comments, what you have learned, what you want to learn, and maybe, other things like do you like C++? Do you like C Sharp better? Do you like making things from scratch? Do you like using Unity? Do you like using Unreal Engine? That would really help me to plan more, I guess, series or content for you guys. So let's open up Unity. And okay, so far what we have is we have a scene where we can play, um, and based on who wins, well, nothing happens. It just renews, like it just cycles to like a new scene, kind of, but not really. It just resets. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, so what we are going to be working on today is game over, I guess. Um, I am not sure how we want to do this, but whenever you lose, that is when um, brain fart. So whenever you lose, that's when we want to go back to the main menu or whatever. Um, oh, we have a to do here, so let's look at that. Let's see, we need to have game states to know when we are loading a new level so that we could delay the ball for longer. Um, I don't know if I want to get into that right now. Maybe we shall see. Okay, so I want to say that there's that the player one is going to be, I don't want to say the local player, but yeah. I'm trying to think of how to properly do this, like, because I also want to have it so that you can play with friends, right? In the same keyboard or whatever. So what happens when somebody loses? If you're playing by yourself, it makes sense to go back to the main menu. But if you're not playing by yourself, then it makes sense to keep playing until you want to quit, right? So that's what I'm trying to figure out at the moment. But I guess we could start without trying to think too much about it, right? We're gonna say, okay, is this multiplayer? We're gonna default it to false. Uh, Sorry, I'm using Emacs for a personal project of mine, and the key bindings, I'm trying to like to save it's Alt S or something like that. Um, and to like, you know, you compile with like Alt M, and I'm trying to like not do that, but I do that. Like right now, again, I was gonna save, and instead of Control S, I was gonna do Alt S. It's a mess. It's a mess. Oh, looks like it's gonna rain. Anyway, so we kind of need more information to pass into this match manager. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna set up this intermediate yeah. So let's go to scripts real quick, and we're gonna set up a really an intermediate system, kind of like that goes between, you know, the main menu and the gameplay. Um, we'll eventually need this because we want to have high scores. And the way we could possibly do it is through this intermediate thing, so that when you stop playing, when you go back to the menu, as soon as it knows that it goes back to the menu, that it just came from a game, it's going to look at your score because you're going to have that in that intermediate system. Um, and it's going to do stuff with it, right? So, what do we want to call this? We want to call it like match info. We have match info, um, which we can only have one, really. Um, one match information structure or something. I don't know. Reload. So we and since this is also, well, not this one probably, we're gonna have a manager-esque type of thing that is going to read the match info. And for this one, we don't need that. We just need a simple regular class, right? And what are we gonna hold here? We may hold like the, I don't know, string for the player name or something like that. We'll default it to like player, like most games do. Um, we'll say bool um, multiplayer, or is multiplayer, and we'll say false. This match is not going to be multiplayer. Um, now, if you were, we don't really care, I guess. If there was a multiplayer and if a second player entered the game, we only care about the main player, which is player one. So we don't really care to store any information for the next play for the other player. Um, and even, I guess, even if it was multiplayer, we don't really care about storing anything. So yeah, let's just continue. Score. Let's do 0. We'll start at 0. Um, and maybe levels completed as well, right? Levels completed. We'll say 0. So as he progresses, we can say, okay, maybe we want multipliers to the score at some point, or something along those lines, or he unlocks something based on achievements. Maybe if he plays multiple levels, maybe like 3 levels at a time, or for the first time, maybe he plays 3 levels, then we'll do stuff with this thing, right? Maybe. It's a thought, you know. So now we need a public match info structure that will string name and maybe a boolean for is multiplayer, right? And the way I'm envisioning multiplayer, which is just the same keyboard, is not going to be online. I'm maybe you're in a match and it'll say like in the old arc, sorry, it'll say like in the old arcade games up at the top, like press start to join or something like that, right? And we'll be able to modify this thing. So if if this is true at some point, we won't care about anything because maybe we want like only a leaderboard when you play by yourself with the AI and whatever, right? So we're gonna say this player name is gonna be name. And we're gonna say score equals 0. And levels completed is 0. And this dot is multiplayer equals is multiplayer. And just because I like uniformity, I am gonna do that, right? So we're just initializing everything to be whatever we want it to be. We may also want something like public void change score or set score, maybe set score. That'll happen um, whenever we end. So maybe like final score, we'll say, and then we'll say this score is final score. Um, we can also say public void set multiplayer, and we could just pass a boolean. Again, is multiplayer. I don't know. Is so right now, I guess it's important to note that um, whenever you're creating games, when you're in the prototyping phase, you just want to get something going, right? You're never going to be sure 100% if this system is going to be what you want, right? 100%. You may have an idea of what it is that you want in the system, and the only way to really know what you need in the system is to actually build it, right? And actually have it in the game. So, a good idea when just prototyping something like we are doing now, and we're not really working on the actual thing, we're just experimenting, I guess, just to see like how we want things structured. It is a good idea to just, you know, write anything that comes to your head, um, and yeah, so you don't overthink. Usually, I like this philosophy, if you will, because sure you can always like sit down and like try to guess as to what system you're gonna need, but a lot of the times, most of that work is not really what you're gonna need unless you've built that game multiple times, right? It's gonna change, and the best way that I found that will get you something somewhere quick, and will show you the structure of the code that you need is im- through implementing the usage code first and then the system, right? This is more towards data design, data-oriented design, and C++, not so much with, C sharp because it kind of forces you to make these systems already. Um, but you can still do it at uh, not as a big of a scale as C++ would allow you to, but it's still possible. So we have set multiplayer, and at some point, let me make sure that all these have that. And maybe at some point we want, to access this stuff. player name. We're gonna say get return this dot player name, and then we get score, levels completed, multiplayer. So score is just gonna be score, and we don't need to set setters since we have functions for that. We just need getters, pretty much, right? And this is levels completed, and it gets it from levels completed. And this is a bool, and is multiplayer with a capital I. Is multiplayer. And there we got our getters there. So now that we got that, we need the actual system. Before we start implementing that system, however, we need to create a class called mono singleton, right? Because we're gonna need another singleton most likely, and we don't. It's better to create a class already that does it and just inherit from it, than to have to rewrite this code over and over again, right? So in here, we're gonna do that, but it's not gonna be match manager, obviously. We're gonna say T here, and that's gonna be T, or actually not mono singleton, just T actually. And T, and then we're gonna say mono singleton where T as is it that mono singleton thing? Or is it like that? I believe that's it. But it's not mono singleton here. It's okay, let's try it how it was. Behavior. This is the part that always like messes me up. I can never ever remember the proper syntax, but I think that's it. It doesn't give me any more errors. So here, this is going to be type of, and we're going to call it T, because that's the type. What is it complaining about? Is it? It is, right? It's supposed to be. Find. Or is it where T... I don't remember how that top thing goes, so I'm gonna say mono singleton T C sharp. Singleton blah blah blah. Okay, so singleton T mono behavior where T mono behavior. Okay. So I think that is it. Where T. No, what the I hate it when like things don't copy. Oh, so that. So is this just T? Apparently. That it would be like type of T. This is type of T. Oh, not that. T. And type of T. And this is T, apparently. And this is, okay, so now we just gotta go back to Match Manager and go here. Boop. And boop. Copy that, put it in here. Boom. All right. So now the initialize function is going to be a virtual function now, since when we inherit private, virtual, or protected. So when we inherit, we can actually change this function to whatever we want it to be. This one will stay the same, so it doesn't need it. There is another thing that we are going to have to worry about at some point, but not at this time. Why is this? T does not contain... T does not contain a definition for is initialized. And no accessible extension method is initialized accepting a first argument of type T could be found. Okay. Apparently it was that. We'll see if we are correct or not. But, okay, so we have that. Now let's test it out. Let's go here. And let's go, okay, match manager. Instead of mono behavior, we're going to say mono singleton. And we're going to pass in match manager here. And we are going to get rid of this stuff. Get rid of this stuff. And we're gonna do override, and this is protected now. Now, if you don't know about classes and polymorphism and all that goodness, protected, if you put private, this means that you know, nobody else can access it, not even your children. But if you protect it like this, then your children can access it, or friend classes can also access the protected methods and other stuff. So if you're working with classes and polymorphism, make sure that if you have something that is virtual and you override it, it is protected, not private. Okay, so we have everything and we want to test. So let's go here, make sure it compiles. Let's play it, and let's see if it plays. Looks good to me. Yep, works just fine. Cool, awesome. So we created that. Now let's create the other system, right? So now we said we were gonna also create a match. It's not a match manager. It's a match info. I don't want to call it manager. Let's call it match info setup. I don't know. So we open that. This one's gonna be match info setup, mono, singleton, and it's gonna be match info setup, right? And we're going to override the initialized function. Oh, we gotta make sure that we call base, otherwise it's not gonna get initialized properly. So whenever we fetch it, it's gonna try to create a new thing. So we gotta make sure that match manager actually has at some point, well, actually this one just does that, but we're gonna call the base class because that's what we want to do, right? To actually initialize the thing properly. Okay, so we are going to have a match manager or match info right here. It's going to be private, and we're also going to like serialize it, and we're going to call it current, I guess, info, and it's going to be null right at first. Another thing I want to do is I want to make sure that this guy system serializable so that I can actually serialize this class, and so it will show up in the inspector. Otherwise, if I want to debug this, it will be a pain in the ass. And make sure I don't input any imp numbers there. Okay, so we're not really gonna do anything in here in initialize. What we do want, however, is a method to create this thing. So let's do public void create new match, and we can pass the string name, and maybe is multiplayer, and in here we can say current info equals new match info name is multiplayer, and that's all we need to do. If this was, I don't know, if you cared about, you know, keeping track of all these maybe games that they played, because each match info is going to be essentially a session that your player plays. So if you want to keep track of it, you actually would need a list of this, and then you would have to be like, okay, add as many as you possibly can, and then whenever they either close the game or before they close the game, actually, you want to do something with all that information, all that new information, and to either do analytics whatever you want to do, right, with it. I think that's it. Just create it. So we create it at some point. Where do we want to create it? Right now, we don't really have a good place to create it. Usually, we create it um, on the main menu. We do not have a main menu yet. We'll do that when we get there, but for now, I think we're just gonna do the same thing that we did here, right? We're gonna say if match info setup dot exists, then we're gonna say okay, match info setup dot instance dot create new match, and we're gonna say that okay, we're, I don't know, uh, Wulfers games or something, and this is false, right? Let's work on not the multiplayer at first. So that means that we have to change several things, because right now we only have multiplayer, but we'll get there when we get there, right? So the match manager right here cares about this. So we may want to cache it here, possibly. So instead of having that, and we just probably need a private match info, right? And maybe we do have some states, right? We'll have public enum game state. We'll say first we have none, then we have, I don't know, setup, then we have match start, match in progress, and then we have match end or ended, and that's it. That's all I can think about at the moment. So we have that. Let's say we have some kind of thing here that it talks about that, right? Serialized field, private game, game state. We'll say current or current state, and current state is going to be none. And then we can have we can have something. So for now, so then we can have void, private void. We'll say match setup. Something happens here. We have. Oops. Man, that I hate that thing like references. I don't care about that. Like if I wanted to see the references, I could just do that. Why do you keep it there? Why? So match setup, match start, match in progress or something like that, and match ended. Right, we have all that. So in match setup, here we could move this probably here. Match setup to create everything. Maybe we also have a public void change state, new state, which is not a string. It's gonna be a game state, new state. And here we'll say if the current state is not the new state, then we want to change to the new state. Dun, dun, dun. And then at some point we need kind of like we need a update loop. And we need to switch, I guess, between the game states or the current state. And we have case, game state, setup, start, in progress, ended. Why did you stop? I hate this thing. It's like, YouTube, come on. Why do you always have to ask if I am still watching, you know? It's like, or hearing music. It's like, I hate when I get interrupted like that. I don't know. Anyway, so I guess if we are here and we are on the non-state, we're gonna say, I don't know, change state to the new game state, which is gonna be set up. And match setup is gonna be here. Match start is gonna be here. Match in progress is gonna be in here, and match ended is gonna be in there. So now all of the logic is just gonna go in here for that stuff. So as soon as we set up this thing, and here we can just say, actually just leave it that. We don't need that anymore there. But at match setup, actually, yeah, match setup, I guess we could have, we'll say, okay, if players dot count is the same thing as the max num players, and ball is not null, then we can say change state match start. Yeah. And it's not, I don't think we need an update, but we'll see. Okay, so now match start. Once we go into match start, right? Then we can do to do delay players and ball for countdown, right? We'll do that. And then, so right here, we'll just change the state right away to in progress. And so now we need a kind of like a flag, right? That says serialize field private boolean. What should we call it? Players1 equals false, right? So we're only gonna, so if players1, then we're gonna go into game state, change game state, change state. We're gonna say that we wanna go to match ended, and from here, since we're just working on the first, on the single player mode, right? We can, okay, hold on. So this has to be true whenever we call player1, right? So player1 equals true. I'll make sure to do it down here at some point. For now, because we don't have a main menu, we can't really go backwards. We'll just restart it, right? So we're calling all that stuff. So once we reach here, we'll just say, okay, change state to match start. We don't want to do setup anymore because we don't want to, recreate all this. We just need to go to the match start, which is here, which will go through the motions again of who won and whatnot. So let us in the future, we will not use an update for this. We'll use events. So whenever an event is triggered, it'll just run this whole thing once, and it'll have logic that will, do its thing. But for now, we'll leave it like that. So actually, we're not done because we do need, we need to get that match info at some point, right? I almost forgot about that. Where is the match info? There it is, info. So before we think maybe on match setup we can say match info setup instance. Do we have a get thing? We do not have a get thing. So, boop, which public current info is just going to do get return this dot info. And now we can go back to the match manager and call that current info, and we're just gonna cache it here as the info. And maybe whenever we play this, right, whenever we create a character, we could say if the ID is player 1, game object, so maybe like right here, player dot name we only want to do this, or actually not here, we want to do it here. So if, let's see, ID is 0, that means we're the local player. We'll always make sure that that's the case. So we're gonna rename ourselves whatever the info dot player name is, right? And whenever we score, we add the score, we're gonna say, okay, if player ID is player ID 1, then we're gonna say info dot set score, and we're just gonna add the new score in there. And that's it for now. Let's see what else we got. Levels completed. Okay, so we also need a setter for that. So let's create a quick function, public void, oh no, increment level or something. Right, so levels completed plus plus. So then we go to match manager again, and whenever we do match end, or actually not match end, but whenever we do player 1, we can ask, right, again, who won, and where are we calling this from? We are calling it from goal. So yeah, let's pass in the player ID. Player ID, it'll let us know who won, right? And now we gotta fix this, so we'll just gotta do that there and that there, and then we go back here, and I guess at the end we'll say if player ID is 1, then info dot increment level. I think that's it for now. So let's go over here. So we have this guy, and we can see here the match info. Whenever we start, let's pause it. We'll notice that we created a match info setup, which contains match info, which contains Wulfers games right here, score, and levels completed, right? Which is cool and everything. And now I don't care about the other player. I only care about this guy. We'll create an enemy AI at some point. Ah, damn it. But as you can see, my score in the match info, oh, damn it, has changed. So I actually lost. So we gotta handle the losing in a bit. But there we go. I won. And actually, we may need to do something a little bit different when calculating the scores, unless we want to increment. I don't know. We'll see. What do we want to do with the score? Do we want to increment and have a huge number, or do we want, what was that? Or do we want to have um, this array of scores per level? Either one we can do. But we're just gonna manage, I guess, what level we're in. So we have one. Cool. So it works, right? It's not the best, obviously. We still need to work out some kinks. So let's say that we lose. In match ended, right here. Well, actually, what do we want to do there? Okay. I'm trying to think what the best way would be. I guess we could do something like players one, or let's do match ended, and let's also do like local player one. That's us. So whenever we do this, we'll say match ended, right? And when we go here, we'll say, yeah, the match ended, but also local player one if player ID is 1, right? So if that happens, if it's true, then we won. If it's not true, then we lost. So if local 1, then I guess we can restart it. Else, we'll just debug log error format, and we'll say you lost, right? And it's going to be info.playerName. So, and then I think another thing that we want to do here is, sure, maybe we, oh, whoa, whoa, uh, we'll increment it, right? When we say set score, we're gonna, wait, yeah, plus equals. We're only gonna set the score when it's final score. Forgot about that. So let's go when right here, right? And I guess we'll only do that. We'll say info dot set score, score list, and we'll say 0 because we're that one. We may want to store the player ID at some point in the match info to make it easier for us to actually do that if there's more than one player. And if we can be at any other spot other than one, but right now we don't need to. So let's find the other one real quick. So this one, we'll get it out of here because I forgot that we're only adding the score to the match info when the match is over. That's it. Not at every time you win. So let's go ahead and play it again. And let's look at our match info here. So okay. Says I lost, but that's obviously not true. Local player 1. So we'll just do it there since we don't need to call, player ID.1 all the time. What I'm guessing is that when we are here, we're actually doing that, like we have to pass here 1 and not the other thing. So, yeah. And let's play it again. Let's get the Wulfers games. Oh, that's me. Forgot we changed our names. Boop. And as soon as we finish this level, when we score 2 points, the level completed is gonna increase, and it's also gonna add the current score into our score in the match info. Well, it didn't do it for the score. Oh, there it is. Uh-oh. Something's not right. So it just keeps adding and adding and adding. That should be an isifix as well. So one thing that we didn't do was to reset everything. So we go to Match Manager and we gotta reset a bunch of things, right? So right here. So here we'll say, okay, local player 1 equals false. Match ended equals false. We'll move this one to match start because match start will tell us no, it didn't. It didn't. Well, actually, let's put that there. It didn't end. It's just barely starting. And I think that's it. That's one of the issues of having this whole state machine um, in an update loop like that. And ooh, oh, let it slide. All right, all right. Boom. At one point. Boom. Okay, so we won. Um, and apparently we didn't add a score. So we gotta look at that at some point. I won again.
Apparently I won again. I won again. Wow, what happened there?
Alright, so we just introduced some weird bug. I'm gonna say that, well, okay, we're gonna leave it here for now. And we'll come back next week and fix whatever we need to fix. So thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you all for, you know, watching and liking my videos. If you're new to this channel, uh, and if you like this video and or any other videos that I've made, and you would like to see more, subscribe and click on that bell icon to get notifications when new videos get uploaded. If you want to support what I do, go to patreon.com/Wulfers to support me, I guess. If you don't see a tier that you like there, let me know, and we can add or think about adding some other ones. If you don't follow me on social media yet, go ahead and do so. I always push updates there as well about things. Um, and yeah, so have a great day and thank you for watching.